You're listening to the Scaling Culture podcast, where we sit down with thought leaders who share their experiences building incredible workplace cultures. Our guest today is Kristi Herold, CEO and founder of Jam Group and the best-selling author of It Pays to Play. Jam Group is a multi-million-dollar global business that has connected millions of people through play. It began as one of the largest adult recreational sports leagues in the world and has only expanded its reach since. Since the summer of 2020, the Jam team has produced and delivered over 4,000 Playful corporate events in more than 30 countries. They also consult with organizations to help them integrate fun and play into their workplace culture. Jam has earned accolades such as Canada's Most Admired Cultural Award and has been certified multiple times as one of the Great Places to Work Canada. Kristi's best-selling book, It Pays to Play: How Play Improves Business Culture, is a valuable resource for organizations looking to foster a playful environment, boost productivity, enhance retention, and improve workplace culture. Her vision is to get 1 million people playing annually. Also, over the last few years, Kristi has received numerous awards, including Canada's Most Admired Corporate Cultures Emerging Award in 2022, Canada's Most Powerful Women Top 100 in 2020, RBC's Women of Influence Canadian Women Entrepreneur Awards Momentum Top 3 in 2020, Sport and Social Industry Association's Industry Impact Award winner in 2020, and Great Places to Work Canada Award in 2019. In this episode of Scaling Culture, Ron and Kristi discuss the benefits of a playful workplace and practical ways to incorporate fun, how to help employees break out of their shell and overcome barriers to play, turning coworkers into teammates and the benefits of a team mindset, and the power of play and its transformative impact on work and home life.
Welcome to another episode of the Scaling Culture podcast. I'm your host, Ron Lovett, and today we have Kristi Herold with us, who's a new friend that I met in Boston in June at the, what was the program called?
EMP, Entrepreneur Master's Program, or Return to the Mastermind. It's kind of got
Return to the Mastermind. Yeah. So Kristi's a fellow EO member, which I've been a member of for probably 16 years now. And Kristi, you're the Toronto chapter?
You know, I'm actually not in EO now. I was in the Toronto chapter for a number of years, but I haven't been for a little while because I kind of outgrew my form. But I'm actually kind of looking at getting back involved.
Good for you. Well, we met because of this event that EO puts on, and it was really nice to meet you there. And so I had the pleasure of hearing Kristi speak about an incredibly important topic, which we're going to dive into today. So Kristi is the CEO and founder of Jam Group. So Kristi, why don't you just, for our listeners, just what is Jam Group? Where did it start? Why did it start? Why don't you kick us off there?
Sure. Jam is now, I started it in 1996. Originally, it was called the Sport and Social Club, and it is now called Jam. We connect people through play. And so for 25 years, it was all through the playing of adult rec sports. And we started scaling I really consciously wanted a lifestyle business for the first 20 years. And then in 2016, really started consciously scaling through acquisitions. And in 2020, the pandemic hit. We thought we were very diversified because geographically at that time, we were probably in 11 different cities, but we realized you can't diversify against a global pandemic when you connect people in real life with the playing of sports. So we got shut down. Our mandates were pretty hard. We lost about 18 months of revenue. During that time, we decided to pivot, stay true to the core purpose of our organization, which is connecting people through play. And we started doing corporate team building. So we were doing virtual events for companies all over the world, did over 1,500 events in that first year alone for thousands of companies around the world. And these were like virtual team building events. And then after the pandemic, we started doing in-person events and hybrid events. We do corporate sports leagues, private corporate sports leagues, and all different types of events as well. During the pandemic, we decided to rebrand to Jam during the pandemic. It just speaks to sort of active connecting through play. And I wrote a book during the pandemic called It Pays to Play: How Play Improves Business Culture. So now our adult sports leagues, we're one of the largest adult recreational sport league providers in the world. And then we've got our corporate team building. And now we're also consulting, helping organizations to figure out what does it mean to integrate play into the day-to-day? What is that all about? And so we're helping coach organizations on improving their workplace culture by having more fun.
I love it. So I'm curious, where did this all start? Did you work at a place previously that you were really bored, nobody played, and it pissed you off? Or was there study or data where did it come from?
Well, the corporate side, you mean, like the team building side of things, or the
Yeah,
culture?
just the idea that play was going to have these types of outcomes in the corporate culture environment. Where like was that just a thesis? Did you you
So
know?
I think as I said, for 25 years running the adult rec sports leagues, it was it's a B2C business. Now we have a B2C and a B2B, but for the first 25 years, I wasn't thinking about this. I did care a lot about my own workplace culture. We've always done really fun things and have made ourselves stand out. In fact, I've had many employees leave and come back to work with us because they realize, like, there's nowhere like Jam to work. We're really fun. It's really fun to work here. So we've always sort of had that. And when we started the corporate team building side during the pandemic out of necessity, and I decided to write the book after that, because I realized, like, what we do naturally, what I've done sort of naturally building this fun culture over the last 27 years, that's not common sense to everyone. I kind of thought it was common sense, and it's not. It's a really special thing, and it's not hard, but we can help people have a little more fun. So I thought, why not talk and write about it?
So it started by default, and then you thought, let's design something, right? You were as a default culture, you were having fun. So what did it look like back then? What were you doing? If I worked at Jam before this was your intent, what did it look like?
Sure. Like, I mean, a lot of what we still do still exists. So right from the get-go, from the first employee I ever had, we would always sit and eat lunch together. Costs me nothing, but we would stop and we would sit and eat lunch together. And we actually started taking turns. We would take turns making lunch for each other for a week at a time. And as the team grew, in fact, until we were about 10 people, you would make lunch for the whole team of 10 people while everyone was working at their desks. And then you'd yell, lunch is ready. And it was like a family meal. Everyone would get up from their desks and come and sit down and break bread together and have laughs for half an hour. That little piece of lunchtime laughter connection was incredibly powerful and cost nothing. Like, you'd literally make lunch for 10 people for a week, and then you'd have lunch made for you for the next 9 weeks. Eventually we got too big and people had different eating challenges and such, or, eating preferences. So we stopped, but we always continued to eat lunch together. And then when the pandemic hit and we couldn't do that, we still have a weekly lunch and laugh, and it's a virtual. Some people are actually at the lunch table in the office, and some people are home working from wherever they're working. And it's just a time to sort of sit and have laughs together. So, like, that's a really basic thing. We've also always celebrated loyalty. When you hit your 1 year mark with us, we give a veterans jersey. So because we're a sports organization, this is, unique to us. You get a hockey jersey that says Jam on the front, and on the back is the year you started. So I have a 96 as my number, and your name. And so that's what you get at your 1 year mark. And it's this really cherished, like, we sort of do this official draft ceremony where you're drafted to the team as a veteran. And until you become a veteran, you have your Jam hoodie. It's a rookie hoodie, but you're a rookie. And so everyone wants to become a vet, and get their jersey. It's a really playful, easy thing to do. Every organization can do this kind of thing. It's really basic stuff that we're doing, but people just don't think about that, right? And so that, yeah, there's tons of different things that we've done for many years. Incentivizing we'd set goals, like, when we still, set goals and targets, and then we'd go on these amazing trips, which is a more expensive initiative. Not everything has to be expensive. We've had book club since 2013. Every 2 months we do book club. And so we have a discussion around a book, and it's totally optional. But people show up and we talk and we learn, and it's a fun way to sort of educate ourselves. And then we sometimes implement things we learn from book club. We have corporate sports teams. Like, obviously we run adult rec sports leagues, but we always have teams playing in all of our in a variety of leagues. We'll have 3, 4, 5 teams playing every single season, and it's optional for our staff to sign up and play. But if they sign up, we take care of the cost for them, and it's a great way for our team to become friends with each other outside of the office, playing soccer or kickball, right? Tons of different things.
Yeah, look, I love it. There's one thing that really stuck out. I've heard so many times, lunch and learn. You said lunch and laugh. Where did that come from? The name. I love the name. Was it just because you guys were laughing at lunch? Let's label it that. Like just that small tweak of lunch and laugh. I can understand that and appreciate. Where did that come from?
That came during the pandemic when we actually started the corporate team building. I mean, we've always had lunch and laughs ourselves. And so when we actually started selling these offerings as, why don't you do an escape room over lunch, or play a game of trivia over lunch, or do a game show over lunch, or as a happy hour, whatever. But so we started calling them lunch and laughs. And part of our corporate offering is when you sign up to do an event with us, our guarantee is laughter. There's a laughter guarantee or your money back. And we've never had to give money back to any client because we can guarantee there will be some laughs during your session, during your lunch and laugh with us. So it just became terminology that we started using during the pandemic. And it's, everyone has, like, to your point, everyone's heard of lunch and learns. And I'm a big believer in having some lunch and laughs, have a little fun together.
Love it. I was just on vacation last week, and I cracked open a book that I had got about halfway through. It was called Joyful. And I was just reading about the impacts on mental health of play and those who play. And it was really interesting because, and I'm jumping around a little bit here, but I'm curious on the onboarding, your onboarding process, because as I was reading the book, it talked about the fact that as we get older and as adults, we play becomes a place of, there's not, it's too open, it's too wide. There's not as many, it's the opposite of policies and procedures when you're playing. It's free spirit, and that people really get uncomfortable with that child vulnerability. So how do you approach that? Because that must be a challenge where people are a little bit like, hey, I used to do this when I was 11. I don't play tag in the office anymore. And I know you're not talking about playing tag, but there's got to be a version of that.
Well, I think that's what's important to remember is play can mean a wide variety of things. Play can mean playing a board game. It can mean playing a physical sports game. It can mean playing music. It can mean reading to some people, right? There's a lot of different ways to play, and having a playful mindset and culture doesn't mean that you don't get work done. Like they're not mutually exclusive. I would argue you actually get more work done more productively when you have a playful culture. So you were asking me
just the friction point of I assume that there an education to be like, hey, this might feel uncomfortable for you because you might not have done some of these things that you were a child. I don't know. I'm wondering, because people get in their own way when it comes to play. They do. Yeah. I think some adults say that was for my past life when I was a child. I don't play today, even though it is so fun. And I don't know. Do you run into that? A stuffy culture that is like
all the time. Yeah. I think that's where that's there's certain people who are just staunchly like, work is work, play is play, never the two shall meet. That's not a place I'd want to work. I love to laugh, Ron, and I want to work with other people that love to laugh and have some fun, because life's too short not to. So we start all of our meetings start with we press play to start. So we have about a 3-minute touch point at the beginning of every meeting where we press play to start. So whoever's leading the meeting might ask a funny question. This morning we had our leadership team meeting, and we alternate who's pressing play to start. And this morning someone said, tell me about what's your favorite holiday song and your favorite holiday food. And everyone, it literally took 3 minutes to go around the room, and we were virtual, and share your favorite. And you get to know your teammates as people, and then we dig in and get the hard work done. And so it's sort of this moment to just connect as friends, connect as people, and then dig into the work. It's a really, like, you sort of just gets your mind into the moment. And another thing you were asking about onboarding, something we've done for a long time, and I'm actually super proud of this. I don't know if you ever heard of Joey Coleman. Do you know Joey? He's written the book. Okay, Joey's written the book Never Lose a Customer, and he's just recently launched Never Lose an Employee. And so I saw him speak recently, and I was very honored. He's highlighted Jam in his book, and he uses us as a case study in his keynote for our onboarding, because when we onboard people, they we do a high five welcome. So on their first day, they start at 10 o'clock in the morning, not 9. And that's intentional so that we have time to get there. So it's, if you can be in the office, you're in the office at our headquarters. And if you work elsewhere, like we have a hybrid team. A lot of people are based in Toronto, but we've got people in Michigan and in Manitoba and in Alberta and France and like all over the place. So if you can't be at the Toronto office, you're on the virtual link. And when that new teammate comes in, we have their walk-up song blaring, which is something that we would have asked them about in advance. So we know their favorite tune. We have that song blaring. If you're a rookie on our team, you're wearing your Jam hoodie. If you're a veteran, you're wearing your hockey jersey. And we're all standing there ready to high five welcome the new teammate as they walk in the office. So they get this like immediate, like high energy welcome to the team, like nothing they've ever experienced. Everyone meets in the boardroom and they see all the people up on the Zoom on the big boardroom screen welcoming them. And then we take literally 2 minutes, maybe 3, and we ask them 3 silly questions. 3 different people from the team would just ask them a silly question, a get to know you question. Maybe it's like, what would be your final meal? If you were on death row, what would be your final meal? Like or what's your favorite chocolate bar? What's your favorite sports team? Like just something to get to know our new teammate and make them feel welcome and break the ice and help them feel not so nervous and anxious. It's such an easy thing. Costs nothing to do this, right?
It's interesting because, when you first hear about this, and I think people make their own assumptions. I certainly did, and didn't exactly know when you brought the topic at MIT in Boston. I didn't really know what you were going to talk about, and I kind of had envisioned this, after work playing a sports team, or we go play, touch football together. But it seems much more weaving it into your daily activities versus stop and do, right? Would that be a fair assessment?
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I really think that the stop and do is important. Having a monthly event is important. If you can put in a company sports team, whatever city you're in, I mean, there are adult rec sports leagues in every city across North America, and have a company choir where you can play music together, or a company rock band to play music together. Like definitely do some of those initiatives. However, there are other ways to weave playfulness into your day-to-day. So starting every meeting with press play to start, right? Having a little connection point where you get to know people as friends. We also have at our meetings, we have a dodgeball that sits on the boardroom table, and you pass that ball around. Whoever gets to have the turn to speak, they're holding the ball. And what that does is it's a visual reminder, don't interrupt. They have the ball in their hand. Don't speak over top of them. If you want to speak, put your hand up and someone will throw you the ball. It keeps you engaged. Like, pay attention. You're going to get the ball thrown to you. It's a dodgeball. It's not going to hurt anybody. It's just a little tiny bit of playfulness that
again woven in.
And it's woven in. And what it also does when you're holding that ball, you're very conscious of, you don't want to take too much airtime when you're holding the ball. You're kind of like, it's a physical reminder that you've got the floor right then. And so you don't take advantage of and go on tangents. You kind of make sure that you pass that on because someone else might want the ball. So it's just, there's tons and tons of ways. I mean, the book is filled with all these different ideas. It's all about making time for those special events, the sports teams, the book clubs, etc. But it's also how you weave it in the day-to-day, so many ways. And when you do that, it helps with retention and loyalty, helps with engagement and productivity, helps with physical and mental health, because when you're working with people you care about as friends, you're far happier and you're far less likely to be looking to work elsewhere. You're far more likely to recommend your organization as a great place to work. And it helps with creativity and innovation, to your point earlier, because when you're willing to be vulnerable and you trust the people you work with as friends, you're going to throw crazy ideas out there, some of which could be bold for an organization. And when you're a happier employee, that makes for happier customers. We've all been on the end of the phone dealing with someone who clearly hates their job. You end up having a miserable experience as a customer. You don't go off that phone call going, I can't wait to tell someone to use this organization. Quite the opposite. You're going to tell people, stay away from this organization. And the opposite is also true. We've all been on the end of the phone when someone is high energy, they love their work, they give you great service, and you're like, that place I'm going to recommend, right? And so that's what happens when your team of employees are happy, your customers are going to be happier. So there's so much return on investment, and it's not a super expensive or time consuming It's a mindset shift. And I think a lot of people are kind of like, well, I don't really know where to start. Like, where do we
Yeah,
begin?
well, that's what I was going to say. Let's talk about where is the beginning for someone listening. It's like, okay, this is foreign to me, but I'm listening. Okay, it's woven in. Where's this? What's your guidance on the simplest place to start? Because also everyone thinks right now, oh, you know what? 3 people like that, but 4 won't, and 2 won't, and so that won't work. And should we all get together and pick one thing that we do? Where do they start?
So I would say, first of all, start with recognizing this takes time. You're not going to do all of these ideas that I'm throwing out there. You don't do them all in the first week, right? It's a mindset. It's sort of recognizing play and having fun at work is a choice you're making around improving your culture. It's not something you do. It's like recognizing that, I mean, you can take action towards it, but like one super easy thing anyone can do right away in the next 5 minutes, you could set up a shout out channel. If you don't already have one on your Microsoft Teams or your Slack channel, have a shout out channel. And what you do on that shout out channel is you shout out great work being done, highlight something small that someone did that like just kind of was a little over and above, or really great acknowledgement of someone living and breathing the core values, and give them a little shout out. It's a high five, a virtual high five, but it's done publicly. So I often will see shout outs coming across that I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that David had done that. That's so great. Like, because I don't work with David every day, but isn't that great that I get to see it and read these little shout outs? And I give shout outs all the time that, and it's nice to get acknowledged when someone gives you a shout out. It feels good, costs nothing, and it can be done in 5 minutes. And that's just a playful way of recognizing great work.
We do that every Friday. Our Friday huddle starts with exactly that. It's a shout out. And I would have to say, I didn't know what the impacts of that were going to be. And they were huge, like so much so that I was in an interview with our COO at one point. And in that interview, our COO had been with us for 6 months. And they said, what's your favorite part of working here? And our COO said, our Friday shout outs. And I was like, oh, wow. Like, oh, that's your favorite part. I didn't know it was that high up. And so I also think we probably underestimate these moments of fun and how impactful they will be. They will be to ourselves, our coworkers, etc.
Yeah, everyone underestimates, and I'll tell you, like since 2020, I've had 3 different employees leave Jam for what they thought would be a new career opportunity and more money, and they've come back because of culture and friends. They want to work with people they like. They want to work with people they care about and people who care about them. They all told me when they left, they felt like they were working in a toxic workplace. And I was thrilled to have them back because it's a lot more affordable to welcome back great teammates than it is to have to, onboard and train someone new. And it's also what a great sign to the rest of our team who are like, wow, like that guy left and has come back. Like 3 people have now left and come back in the last 3 years. Like that's pretty special. So maybe it makes them think twice about, do I really want to leave? Like it does help with retention when you have a fun place to work.
Absolutely.
And yeah, the shout out channel is something we have. Like shout outs are going all the time. Like if there's always a few every day, but we also have our you have a weekly shout out. We do top shelf teammate once a week. Top shelf is the hockey terminology, and they get a little mini hockey stick given to them, and it's passed from one teammate to the other, and you have to give it to someone outside of your department. So it's just recognizing fun, great work being done. And we do that at our Thursday huddle. We also do once a month core value award. Everyone nominates someone else for living and breathing core value. Whoever gets the most nominations in the month wins the core value award. It's an Apple Core trophy with our core values written on the bottom. And then 3 times a year, we have Find a Better Way award. Find a Better Way is one of our core values. And you can nominate yourself or your peers for finding a better way. And it's like if you found a way to do something differently that helped improve our customer experience, or helped drive revenues, or helped reduce costs, or whatever, or help improve the employee experience, you can nominate yourself, and we give cash prizes for that. So it's $300 for first place, $200 for second, and $100 for third. We did that 3 times a year. So there's all these ways of sort of playfully recognizing great work being done. And I think that recognition, it feels good to be able to shine a light on someone else it also feels great to receive that kind of gratitude. It doesn't need to be costly.
Right. Do you do anything on the other side? So in my second book, Scaling Culture, I wrote about how you can have some fun, funny enough, in with people that didn't meet their goals, and we named it in the book a punishment. So you would pick in advance what you were going to do. So if you don't like to sing or lip sync or do karaoke, you would say, "Look, if I don't hit my targets, I'm going to do that in front of the group." Have you guys played with the other side of that? Have you tied it to metrics at all? I'm curious.
No, we actually, I don't think we have any punishments. I love that. That's pretty funny, actually. We should, I'm gonna think about that for sure. We do have, I mean, people are constant, we have a banter channel on, and there's always people that tease each other, and it's always done in good fun. And you know, people do, there's always bets that go on. You know, the other day somebody had to, they lost a bet about a sporting event or something, and they had to sing by themselves. They had to sing the Michigan fight song to our whole team at Huddle. It was hilarious. I was like painfully embarrassed for this guy, but he was awesome. He was a total trooper. He did it. So there's lots of little, you know, things like that go on, but I'm not specifically tied to results. It's an interesting idea.
So in your clients, do you implement, like, you know, is there a chief fun officer? Does someone kind of own this and run with it? What's the best way for a company to implement?
Yeah, we definitely, so it tends to be, you want it to come from leadership. So CEOs, owners, they have to believe in this. And ideally then it's often, you know, HR, people and culture teams, that sort of are going to be the ones helping integrate some of these playful fun ideas into the organization. We always recommend that for the clients that we work with, like, pick a team of playmakers. And because we usually want to interview different people in the organization to hear what are their challenges with their culture right now. And so what would we be recommending to get started right away? What are some of the easy wins you can get right away? And what are some things that, you know, may take a little more time to get going, but once you do, they'll pay off. And you want to have a team of playmakers that will, so as an example, if you're going to do a shout out channel, you have to seed that. You want to get 3 or 4 or 5 other people to start doing a shout out. Everyone do a shout out once a week to get it going and encourage their teams to do shout outs of others as well, right? Because it's not just going to work if just only one person's always doing shout outs. It doesn't really work. So you got to just seed the idea with others and get people on board for sure.
And have you found, is there a max minimum? I mean, this feels like it would be very easy with a small group. Does it lose some steam with larger corporations? What's the largest group that you've been able to successfully implement this into?
Well, I mean, we've done some of our team building events we've done for tiny companies and massive companies. So in terms of the culture, like integration, the work play aspect of it into an organization, there's really not. It does tend to be, you want it to sort of be focused at a chunk of, like, a team level, right? Like, so if you're getting to an organization that's 500 people, you might want to have it broken down into, like, you know,
a regional finance team.
Sure, right. Like, exactly. Like, it tends, but then what ends up happening is that the good fun stuff that's happening kind of filters out. And we did this, and this was really fun, and isn't this a great new initiative? And the sort of word gets out as to what's working well. And this stuff is measurable, right? You can measure your ENPS, your employee net promoter score. You can be asking, which is similar to a net promoter score, but you're asking your employees, how likely would you recommend our organization is a great place to work. You can also be measuring, looking at retention and turnover statistics. So if you start trying to actually be a little more conscious and having a little more fun and investing in having a little more fun, start with measuring what's the turnover now and what is it in 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 24 months. You'll see, I believe, a return on investment hugely, because turnover is incredibly expensive. And if you can keep lower your turnover 1%, 2%, 3% by investing in having a little more fun, you're going to be saving your organization a lot of money, and it doesn't need to be a super costly investment. So you can also be measuring, asking people a good question is, how many of you would say you have a close friend in the office? that's a really interesting metric, because they've studied and said that studies show when your organization has over 60% of your team say they have a close friend at work, profitability goes up by 12%. I mean, that's a pretty general study that was done, but that's an interesting stat, right? Like I could confidently say probably over 90% of my team would say they have a close friend at work, or that they have friends at work. And
not to get off topic, but does that change the accountability, communication, and holding people to very high standards because we're too close? And how do I approach Kristi with this because we're friends, or does it make it easier?
No, so we are not a family at Jam. In fact, I actually really, I don't get angry, but I always correct people whenever I see someone saying we're the Jam fam. I'm like, no, we're not the Jam fam. We are a team. If you're in a family, you get unconditional love. If you're on a team, you have to perform. So if you're not performing, we will coach you up or you get moved out. It's that simple. You need to be coachable. You need to be wanting to improve. You need to be hitting your targets, just like any sports team. On the Jam team and on any good work team, you need to perform just to keep your spot, right? And you might get second string for a while, and then you get back up onto the starting lineup, or you might get benched, and then it's kind of like, you know what, it's time to move on, right? So that's the way we've always looked at it. And I think it's dangerous to talk about we're family, because I think that is too much for people. Yeah. It's a dangerous line to cross, in my opinion. And so I think the team analogy is a really powerful one.
Yeah, that makes sense.
By the way, remember, any good sports team, to your point earlier, you can still be really close friends with the people on your team, but you still need to hit those targets. Just because you're close friends, you still have to accomplish the numbers. And I would actually argue what ends up happening when you're close friends with your teammates and someone's having a bad week or a bad month, or they're stressed, they maybe have stuff going on in their personal lives. As when you're close friends with those people, you recognize that, and you can go in and you're going to be willing to go in and be backup for them. You're going to be like, I see you look stressed, man. Can I help you with that? Like, I'm done my work right now. I've got some bandwidth. Can I take something off your plate? If you're not close friends with someone, you're like checking in and checking out. You're just like, I'm going to get my work done. I don't care about other people on this team, right? And so there's a lot of power to this idea of being friends, close friends with people in the workplace. And I'm not saying that, like, I care about, like, I mean, everyone on my team, I think of them as friends. I'm not inviting them over for Saturday night dinner parties. These are not like my besties, but I'm friends with all of them. So do you see the distinction? Yeah.
No, I understand. I would agree. I think, well, I was really fortunate when I started my security company when I was 21. I had hired my friends. And so I actually had no problem with, like, high five, let's go for a beer, but tuck your shirt in and put your radio on. Yeah. Like, I had no problem. I just, which a lot of people find that very gray and messy, you know. I just didn't have an issue. And I always believed, you know, you should communicate properly. And sometimes I use this tool, like, with what I'm about to say, you know, or should it be said by me? Should it be said right now? And should it be said at all? If it's not all three yeses, I usually pause. Sometimes I don't say it at all. I try to use that at home a lot too. So yeah, I agree with your comment. And look, I like the team analogy. I would agree with that as well. I think that family, there was this trend towards family. Now it's moving towards team. I think some people said, family and tribe and these different words are just not really, they might have went a little too far in what the intent of the word was, you know?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think team is a perfect analogy.
So the book, does it bring you through, because obviously you gave all kinds of ideas today on how to weave fun into the workplace. Does it give us a flavor for the book? Is it kind of like, hey, let me tell you about the concept, then here's how you do it, and here's the pitfalls to watch out for? Walk us through.
So the book is broken into 6 chapters, all around retention, engagement and energy, mental and physical health, productivity, creativity and innovation, and then happier customers. And so in each chapter, Ron, I break down sort of what some statistics and some metrics around these issues and how they can be positively or negatively impacting your organization. And then I share some anecdotes, some stories, either from Jam, from our own experience, or I interviewed loads of other business owners who have been renowned for their workplace culture, and get ideas on how they are doing things, how they're integrating playfulness and fun in their workplace, and how that's impacting that area that I'm highlighting in the chapter. And then I share tactics around different, giving different ideas. And then the appendix is broken into, it's all tactics, and that it's all broken down by whether it's low cost or higher cost, whether it's better for in-person versus hybrid versus fully remote. Like, it sort of has a scale for everything, and it's broken down into the whole appendix has all different ideas on ways to integrate playfulness on a day-to-day basis, ways to integrate playfulness sort of more on a weekly basis or on a monthly basis or on an annual basis. And yeah, it's just filled with ideas. So there's just no shortage of ways to have fun with the work we're doing.
So Kristi, what's next? You're passionate about this. Everyone's always trying to level up. What's like now to take this to the next level is what's next for you in this with Jam and integrating and weaving fun in the workplace? What's next?
I think, well, my vision is to one day get 1 million people playing every year, to be touching 1 million lives, because the positive impact of having fun, whether it's through corporate team building events or through our adult rec sports leagues, or through our consulting, like the positive impact we're making when you go home happier from work, or you go home after a soccer game, you feel happier. Like, it's just such a good ripple effect, right? You're a better spouse, you're a better roommate, you're a better dad. And so the ripple effect of that, it just feels great. So if I knew that the work we're doing at Jam is touching the lives of 1 million people every year, that would just feel amazing. So that's the vision, is to get to that point. We've got a ways to go. We're probably about a quarter of the way there right now. And we're doing it. I'm looking to scale. I'm doing acquisitions I'm buying other adult rec sports leagues. We're in about 15 cities right now in Canada and the US. So looking to scale that side up, and we're looking to sort of cross over the B2B and the B2C side. I think there's a huge opportunity where we could be doing a lot more corporate sports leagues, private sports leagues for big companies, and also encouraging. I see an opportunity because health and wellness is a big focus for a lot of companies. And what I see a lot of companies doing is they're doing it in a silo of the individual. So they're caring about the individual with, we're going to give you this mindfulness app, and we're going to give you yoga classes, and we're going to give you resources to get therapy. All very wonderful and important and healthy. What's being missed and overlooked, I believe, is the social connection point. And social connectivity, combining your exercise. The Mayo Clinic has done studies that show when we combine exercise with playing social sports. So when you play tennis or badminton or basketball or soccer, you're actually adding 20% longevity to your life, because the exercise component, we all know exercise is good for us, both physically and mentally healthy. But when you get the component, that social connection, it's impacting your mental health. And loneliness has been shown to be equivalent to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. So I want to encourage companies to look at the adult rec sports league side of things as, like, why not get more of your employees, offer to them to have a kickball team or a volleyball team, get your company jersey on them. So it's a marketing opportunity, but you're connecting. Someone from the finance team is on a kickball team with someone from HR, with someone else from marketing. People that don't normally work together get to know each other as friends. So that does great things for your company as well. Or offer it as a credit, like give your employees the opportunity to just go sign up and play social sports, even if it's not with their colleagues from work. Go do it with friends, because it's actually even better than just going to the gym. And I'm not saying they shouldn't go to the gym. Like, do both, go to the gym a few days a week, but get some social sports in there as well. So I think there's lots of opportunity to keep growing and keep people playing.
And isn't there, when you think back to these environments, excuse me, isn't there an opportunity to trial someone's leadership skills in a non-risky environment, in a sports environment? I mean, what a great place that, hey, Ron, I want you to be the team captain today and
Yeah.
see how that goes, and moving that around and see how they facilitate the team. I mean, that's very low risk to see someone in a different light. There must be great
Yeah.
opportunities, things that come out of this.
That was actually a really interesting anecdote. One of the people I interviewed for the book, he was talking about how much they loved, they always have like 3 or 4 teams every season playing in our leagues. It's a company that's got 300 or 400 people, based in Toronto. And he said he loved what we do because he sees, to your point, leadership opportunities, but also you get to see people, how do they win together and how do they lose together?
Right.
Because it's really, both are really important skills to learn, right? It's important to learn to set goals, to drive for targets together, to work together as a team. And how do you behave as a team when you win? And how do you behave as a team when you lose? And seeing those in real life kind of tells you a lot about how people are going to be in the business world, in the work world. And so, yeah, it's really powerful. And he also he talks about the sparks that get created, just those, it's the, sitting on the sideline, you're watching your team playing beach volleyball and you're sitting on the sideline and you're bantering with someone else from the office. And it's the little sparks that happen there that just don't happen at work. Like, it's these natural ideas, fun ideas that come up, and it just is a super powerful thing that you can't really measure. And it's not a super expensive
Right.
Investment, but the power of it, the return on investment, is massive.
Well, Kristi, look, this has been a great chat. I was making some notes. I mean, I love the jersey idea, and I love rookie versus, the 1-year anniversary. I love it. I really love the simplicity of, whether it was dodgeball or a small squeeze ball. I was just thinking about, okay, so if I'm facilitating, I throw it back, they have to throw it back to me. I was just running that in my head, but I think that's a great way to have some fun. I agree. I think the people who babble on would just be like, okay, I just get rid of the ball, And so
Yeah.
I'm definitely gonna trial that. I really like that, and just this continuous weaving fun in intentionally, I think is great. Kristi, where else can we find you for listeners today? Website, where do they find you?
Sure. My website is kristiherold.com. So KristiHerold, kristiherold.com. And the JAM website is jamgroup.com. And there's more about both the corporate team building as well as the corporate sports available there. And Ron, for your listeners, we've got a landing page. If they would like a copy of my 10-page playbook, it's a PDF that has 10 ways to integrate play into the day-to-day. They can get that from kristiherold.com/scalingculture25. And the reason there's a 25 is if they get that playbook, there's a 25% savings. If they'd like to try one of our JAM events, they can enjoy a 25% savings if they're one of your listeners. So there you go.
Thank you. That's very kind. And listeners, let's get into that million. This is great. Kristi, good to catch up with you. Thanks for dropping in, and keep doing what you're doing. It's fantastic.
Thanks, Ron. Appreciate you having me on.
For more information about Kristi or her work, please follow her on LinkedIn or go to kristiherold.com. To learn more about our books or our Scaling Culture Masterclass on how to build and sustain a resilient, high-performing team, please go to scalingculture.org. And lastly, if you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a comment and share the podcast with one of your friends or colleagues. We'll be back soon with another incredible guest.